presentation just for him. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome 116 graduate and current U.S. Army infantry.
Surprising her daughter, and so is Avery Hinton. You have a present under the tree.
Be back with the Bud Lights for you.
All right. Which table?
Brian pretended to be a waiter, bringing order drinks to the table.
Here you go, Mama.
Oh my God!
To throw Mackenzie Freeman off her game, laser focused until mid-play. She spots a face she hasn't seen in over half a year, jumping into her father's arms, the first of many hugs.
It's been over 7 months, so it's been a long time coming.
Following a tour of duty in Afghanistan, Master Sergeant Jeremy Freeman is
So bring more of the tickets to the birthday show. Yes!
This is the moment they've both been dreaming of, but it wasn't complete without one more stop.
Hey kids, I want to wish you an early happy birthday from Monrovia. I wish I could be there with you to celebrate, but I can't.
Let's head to center court. We got some birthday gifts that Rock wants to pass off. Are you ready?
Volumes.
Oh, come on, surprise! Come on in!
Mom! Mom! Mom!
Hi, baby. Paris is a chief petty officer for the U.S. Navy, and she was deployed for 10 months. Her son's in tears to see her return home.
That's not one of your siblings either.
I tell you.
Nice. Boy. Girl.
You can always ask for a hint. Remember, you can ask for a hint.
How cool is that? It's like the 25th. Yeah. I said, but I don't think I'm going to talk to you this weekend. You got so much going on.
Look how big my
Come here.
Force Master Sergeant John Lang shocked his 20-year-old daughter, a hockey nut whose first...
Grab him, Nikki.
Fun. Real fun this year. Well, we have a special guest today. It's Veterans Day.
Daddy! She's crying!
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! He's doing it! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
A little help of the goals in the crowd. 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, can I have you guys turn around real quick? Your dad is home from the Air Force. He's been serving overseas. He is home, Master Sergeant Aaron McKean. He has been serving 20 years in the United States Air Force. He has returned the Middle East 5 times. Die Hard Lightning fans in a home reunion.
Jaden Cunningham. Eric Benson.
There we go. There we go. Yep. All right, so you got the mic working. Desktop audio should be on now. Let me go to properties there.
Hello, welcome to the stream. Video, that was operator error.
Complete operator error. All right, so say something for me.
Something for me.
Nope, not there.
Very quiet. Well, I can't put this thing much. See here, go turn myself up a little bit, I guess. Nope, I'm all the way up. What you get, what you get. Let's see, you gotta get the sound guy turned up. Sound guy.
Let's see. You are all the way up. Let's change this property to...
Well, this is starting off like a mess, huh?
It is. We're learning. All right, now, there we go. Now I got some desktop volume.
There you go, that's good.
All right.
Whoa, hello, Pat. What's up, Solid Band? What's up, Speedy? Thanks for checking in, guys. Thanks for everybody who checked in.
All right. And now my microphone is way overset because all this was set up for Joe's stuff. All right. So now do you have sound on both of us? Are we pretty equal if we're talking?
Are we talking?
We're talking.
All right.
Okay, so we got that. Now I need to get my camera source added.
It's a nice photograph down there.
Yeah, it is. It's a great shot you took. Maybe you could tell us the story behind that picture.
Yeah, there ain't really no story. We were just driving. It's just nasty over there. That's it. That's the road.
Where was that taken?
It's in northern Afghanistan. Northern Afghanistan on the road between Gormash and Maymana. I wish I had Google Maps I could pull up and show you. That'd be pretty cool. We're gonna do that sometime. We'll go through some maps or something. We can talk about some areas.
Well, why won't that let me get my webcam, I wonder?
I don't know.
Let's see if we can take power away from Twitch. Hey, there we go. That's why it wouldn't. Okay.
Holy shnikes, there he is. In case y'all are wondering how ugly he is. Got up close and personal view there. Woo.
Okay,
Woo.
let's do that. And then let's go back over here and stop that.
There he is. Yeah, we're gonna have to get a second producer lined up here.
I
to see if
agree.
old Whiskey or somebody will check in.
All right, webcam's plugged in. I'm going to need to restart you.
So, Salaban, how was your week? What have you done? We can talk in a minute. Let's see if you can get us something to talk about here. You got any struggles, any drama in your week? Dude, my internet is terrible. I'm just a blur right now. I've been having
now it's not
trouble.
Showing. Oh, I know why
Yeah,
it's
now
not
I got
showing.
nothing.
There we go.
I've been having trouble with my internet tower out here. I called yesterday and they said there's some sort of problem with the download. I can upload just fine, so hopefully you all can see me just fine, but I can't download worth of crap. I was getting like yesterday I was getting anywhere from
2.1
megabit to it'd spike at 30 for a half a second and go back down to 1. It was absolutely terrible.
Right. It was sad. Okay, so now our sound should be pretty good. I need to resize that just a bit. Move it over just a bit. And that'll be pretty close. I think it needs to come up just a bit. Joe had all of this perfectly laid out.
Use your D-pad on your keyboard. Once you get it close to the borders, it wants to jump you down. So go to the bottom left border, do 15 up and 15 in. That's what we did.
Yeah, I don't have the D-pad on this
You
keyboard.
don't have a...
I have arrows.
You don't have arrows?
They're not making anything move. They're resizing
That's
it, but not
interesting.
moving it. Let's see.
It's fine there.
All right.
Salaban says, rough week. Had some drama. Got her drama sorted. Still having some head and neck pains, and she hasn't been to physical therapy. Well,
Told you to stay out of GTA 5. There was nothing but drama there.
Oh, man. Ain't that the truth?
Okay.
I haven't played that in forever.
Yeah, I know. And it's still not been long enough.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So you think the race was bad today? I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at the point standing. I came out in first. I'm pretty happy with that.
Of course, you probably think it's all right. I thought it was trash. It was a very entertaining race.
It was. It was a good race. I am not a Kyle Busch fan, but I have to say thank you, Kyle Busch, for the extra points today, because without you, I would have been in trouble when Larson had to go to the garage.
Yep.
IRL drama. Ah. That's always fun. So, now that we've got everything somewhat sorted, where should we start, Patriotic?
I knew you were going to ask me. I don't know why you ask me every time, because I just go off of what you say.
You're the only other person here.
So, let's see. I got some notes from my thoughts during. We got two things. This is not written in spoken form, I guess. So I wrote down here, generations of veterans. Oh, I had a conversation with some older guys, and this conversation took place probably 10 years ago, I'd say, about the generations of veterans. So I was talking to a World War II guy, and about fighting in the jungles of Vietnam. I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine being over there, having swamp foot all the time and guys sneaking out of every tree and burrow and hole and whatever. And he was like, yeah, that sounds terrible. He was like, I couldn't imagine fighting in the desert where, they plant bombs just on the side of the roads and they don't care who it hits, and it's 130 degrees. And the Vietnam guy says, I couldn't imagine being out in Bastogne where it's, 6 degrees with a 30-mile-an-hour wind with artillery fire every who knows how often, and everybody running out of boots and food and everything else. So I just thought it was funny how everybody basically who fought in whatever wars they fought in kind of thought that was like the best option or whatever. They didn't want to. They couldn't even fathom trying to fight in one of the other theaters that our country's been in.
I have heard only one opposite of that, and that was from the Huey pilots that we had for Tropic Thunder last year. One of them mentioned that they actually felt sorry for the soldiers in modern times, and he said his reasoning behind that wasn't so much the conditions that they had to live in as it was the rules that they are forced to follow. He said, you guys have to put your lives in way more danger than we did. He said, when we were in Vietnam, if it looked like a threat, we killed it. He said,
yep.
And you guys, you have to assess the situation. You've got checks and balances that have to be followed. And if it doesn't get followed, the U.S. writes a big check. He said, we didn't deal with that.
They might have had that mentality while they were there, but look at the fallout from that mentality or from that guidance or whatever, that Vietnam was the first war that was televised live on TV, basically, right? And I'm not saying live as in truly live like we have now with streaming data and stuff. But, it was pretty much, hey, this morning in, Hanoi, this happened. So that's, I think, really what turned the American people off to war is actually seeing it, pretty much unedited, uncut type of stuff. And, so those guys, that was the last war where it was a shoot first mentality. And even Vietnam, really, that was supposed to be like, they call it the Vietnam conflict, right? That was supposed to be a training mission. We were supposed to go in and train the South Vietnamese on how to defend themselves, just like when we went to Iraq and Afghanistan. That was the plan. That's the way we fight wars now, is we go in and kick whoever we want out and then train the people who our government sees fit to rule, train them to defend themselves. And Vietnam was the first instance of that. And that, that ended poorly, as you can see. If you look at the numbers, I'm talking about casualties, between deaths, injuries, whatever, the U.S. went to Vietnam and kicked ass, but we couldn't keep our home front strong, and we couldn't maintain the Americans lost for a country that kind of wasn't trying to do its own, kind of wasn't trying to defend itself or better itself either. So I mean, yeah, like after Vietnam, when we went into Desert Storm, or as they call it over there, the first American War, that wasn't really. They kind of got smart. I remember that, watching that on TV. That's kind of what made me want to enlist, was watching the night vision, shots of all the tracers flying through the air and the Abrams rolling down Broadway and whatever. But there wasn't a whole lot of up close and personal coverage of that. Like we went in, it was 103 hours or 113 hours or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a whole lot of reporters on the front lines to see any of the actual nastiness that took place, that the necessary evils that take place in war. And then we went to Iraq and Afghanistan. Obviously it was a much slower paced war. I mean, if you look at the spearhead of that, OIF 1, there wasn't a whole lot of news coverage of that stuff either. There wasn't a whole lot of camera crews on that first convoy up to Baghdad. But I have no idea what the hell we're talking about anymore. You just got me rambling.
We're talking about difference in veterans by generation.
Oh yeah. So basically, the lessons learned from Vietnam were you go to win the hearts and minds. You just can't go in there and slaughter people anymore, because everybody's got a cell phone, everybody's got a camcorder, everybody's got something, and then
everybody knows how to edit video. That's
yeah. Well, and you got CNN and ABC, NBC. I mean, how many news outlets are just in our country, let alone any other countries? BBC. I'm sure they've got tons more than that. But
lots of independent journalists now too.
Right. So the ease of getting media out to people is incredibly different than it was in Vietnam and World War II. So yeah, we had to change our rules of engagement just to appease the people. Is what I believe. I mean, honestly, do you know how many Iraqis died in the Iraqi war?
No clue.
No idea, right?
Right.
Because just as ruthless as this sounds, it's not important to us. If you wanted to know it, you go know it.
That's true. That's very true.
Right. It's not important.
But
you know how many Americans died on September 11th?
Over 3,000.
343 firefighters, 3,400 civilians. Like, American lives matter to me, and this is not meant in a derogatory way, but an American life is more important to me than any other life in the world. I don't know how many Ukrainians have died in that, whatever the hell they're doing with Russia. I don't know how many Russians have died. And so the point is, but whenever you start throwing that stuff on TV, people are like, wow, that's nasty. Like,
yeah,
showing the after effects of a car bomb. And you mean they blew up that car right downtown in the middle of the market? Yep. They killed 2 Americans and 37 of their own people,
right.
And then you got CNN sitting there with a 4K high definition camera showing Iraqi dead bodies everywhere. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. People don't want to see that. And that's where a lot of the lack of support comes from. Not just support of troops, I'm saying, support of the war, you get all the protesters and all that stuff.
Right.
And so the reaction from that is a severe change in rules of engagement. After the initial spearhead of the war, you can't just go in there and shoot whatever moves.
Well, and that may be why veterans who are coming back from combat zones often find it difficult to relate to the people that are around them in their life here at home, because they've gone overseas, they've been boots on the ground, they've been involved in that stuff, and then they come back, and the people that are here, we honestly will never know what you went through. And you can show me the news footage all day long. You can show me the raw, uncut body cam footage all day long. And I still agree with the statement that the VA makes on its website regarding veterans and being able to relate to people when they come home. One of the big issues that they face is that many civilians do not know what they don't know. We don't know what you had to do when you were in Iraq or Afghanistan. And the problem is when it's televised, when bits and pieces of it are shared, a negative image is put in front of the public, and we're not told the whole story. We don't know, why special forces had to go into a village and 31 people died in the village in order to accomplish an operation there. We don't know that they were there because they needed information to prevent another 9/11. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you pay attention to the news, like how many special forces, I'm talking United States Army Green Berets, how many special forces missions have you been allowed to follow in the media?
Yeah, Bin
The answer is
Laden.
probably zero. You
Bin
might
Laden, that's
that was the SEALs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, you don't get to follow these missions as they happen. You don't get to know the who, the where, the why. You might get a guy who tells a story later, or the government might come out like with the Bin Laden thing. It was a huge, it was an organized press release. Like they were careful with what they said, who they said it to, how they said it, because they still got to be respectful to the other countries of the world.
I mean, even when it came to coverage of Bin Laden, The Rock knew before the rest of the country. He tweeted hours before I think about an hour before the president made his speech, before President Obama.
You talking about
made
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
Yep, he tweeted that Bin Laden was dead over an hour before the president made his speech.
Hell, he was probably there.
Well, what he said was he was blessed to have friends in both high and low places, and his tweet said something about just got the news, never been prouder to be an American. And
nice.
then when the news comes out and they cut bits and pieces of a story out for two reasons. Number one, to fit in a time constraint. They only have so many minutes they can spend on a story in order to get to all the topics they need to cover, or that they think they need to cover. Most of the topics they cover these days are not necessary. But also, depending on who is backing that news corporation, bits and pieces of a story will be left out or whitewashed over in order to present a certain narrative to the people that are viewing the news. And that's one thing that we strive not to do on this show, is present a certain narrative. We want you to know the truth about issues that we face as American citizens and issues that we face when working with veterans, because if you know the truth, you can make an informed decision that is actually an informed decision and not a halfway informed decision.
And you don't mean know your truth or my truth. Like, we would like to discuss facts, not I heard this or just because a website said it. We all know, right?
Yeah.
It was on the internet,
Abraham Lincoln said, "Don't believe everything you read on the internet."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart man.
Smart man. Very intelligent. But I think that talking about the violence and stuff that happens during wartime, collateral damage is not something anybody wants to think about. It's not pleasant, and it happens on both sides of the court. People get hurt on both sides, and you don't. I'm trying to think of a way to put this that doesn't sound just hateful. But like you said, American lives are what matter to us because we are Americans. It's not that we hate people of another country or another race just because they're different than us. It's the fact that our brothers, our sisters, our sons, our nephews, our uncles, our fathers and mothers are the ones going to war. We care about them. So when it comes down to their life or the life of a stranger 9,000 miles away, I'm sorry, but that stranger's life suddenly doesn't mean as much. And
it's just it's a harsh truth. Period.
It is.
There ain't a way to sugarcoat it.
Hiroshima was horrible. What happened to the people that were killed in Hiroshima? The people that died instantly got the easy side of it. The people that suffered from the after effects suffered miserably for years.
The fallout, as they say.
The fallout, and it was horrible. but it prevented a much greater evil that would have resulted in even more deaths all around the world, including Americans, and that's why it happened. That's why choices were made that some people might not agree with, but in the end result, the fact is that we prevented an empire that was intent on taking over the world, basically putting the entire world into slavery, from linking up with another empire intent on doing the same thing from the opposite side of Europe and literally taking over the entire world. And, funny as it may seem, the idea was back then that if we let them take over the world, then we will be subservient to them and we'll have to use all of their products from now on. And yet here we are in 2023 driving Japanese cars.
Not this guy.
Well, maybe not. But even the parts on our motorcycles come from China or Japan a lot of times. And nothing wrong with that. We're allies now. We work with them in order to achieve a better global economy.
Well, that's the same thing we talked about last week, right? Supply and demand.
Yep. Supply and demand.
If you got a problem having a Chinese car or a Chinese television, don't buy it.
Right. You can purchase things that are made in other places.
360 million Americans stopped buying RCAs. Guess what?
RCA went out of business.
So we got to stay on topic here. This started with relating to veterans.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you, the two main ways you relate with other human beings is through empathy and sympathy, right?
Right.
Sympathy is, I don't understand your situation, but I feel for you. Empathy is, I've been where you're at. I feel for you, right? So I'm guessing most humans, not just veterans, like I was going to say just veterans, but I'm guessing most humans probably don't want your sympathy. Whatever condition I'm in, whatever condition you're in, where you live at, if you're like, hey man, I can't pay my light bill, my lights are going off. Like, you probably still don't want my sympathy. You don't want me to look at you and be like, hey, I feel sorry for you.
Right.
You
what good does
much
that
rather.
do me?
Right. That's it really. And obviously veterans, especially combat veterans, that they like to cut out they take shortcuts, to cut out the bullshit. Like, just don't tell me you feel bad for me and you wish this for me and you'll pray for me and whatever. Like, if you got some help, if you want to come help me put this roof on my chicken coop, let's do that. We'd rather kind of cut to the chase and get to it. And then empathy is two veterans, right? Say two guys who served together in the same area during the same time ish, whatever. They can empathize with each other. Yeah, I remember how bad that one day was whenever those 1,000 Taliban decided they're all going to band up and hit 3 bases at the same time. That's empathy. And I don't think we like to empathize either. I don't want to get on here with one of our veteran friends and just talk about the bad times or talk about the tough times. Now, we might bullshit about the good times. That's all right. And those are the times we're connecting over.
Yep.
And what a civilian's shortcoming is you don't have those good times with us. You don't remember that time that 6 of us got out whenever we got off the airplane at the same time for leave, and we rented the car and got so drunk we lost the car. Like, you know what I mean? You don't remember that story because you weren't there. So it's just hard to relate. But I think it's okay. And like, this is what we talked about whenever we talked about homeless veterans. What if they don't want structure? Well, what if veterans don't want you to understand us? I'm cool with you not understanding me. Dude, you'll never understand my mentality. Like, I try to justify some of my like attitude and actions or whatever. Sometimes, like, hey, my bad, I got a little angry or whatever. But you give me a lot of leeway, and I think that's the best thing that two humans who don't see things the same way can do, is just give each other a break.
Yeah.
You're never going to understand another person. You're never going to understand someone who's been to war. Stop. I'm not saying stop being friends with them or anything, but stop making the goal to empathize or sympathize with or for them.
Exactly. It's not about me understanding every little bit of your life. It's just about me being a part of your life. Being that friend who's there when you need to go fishing or when you need to get on a motorcycle and go burn some fuel or when you need to host a show.
Right. And those, okay, all three of those actions are things that are non-military, right? So like when we talk about veterans transitioning back into the world, There you go. You just gave 3 activities that I enjoy doing, that you enjoy doing, that are not military related. That's something that we, as I'm coming out of the military, granted I've been out for a while, but as guys are trying to transition back into the world, instead of saying, hey, you should go to college. Hey, you should do this. By the way, your benefits expire in 6 years. So if you don't do it now, you're wasting 40 grand. Let's go fishing. Like
Right.
that's a pretty good way.
Hey, I wanna hit on something too. You're talking about sympathy and empathy, and the fact that I can look at you when you come to me with a problem, whether you're a veteran or another human. You come to me and say, oh, my power's been turned off, or I don't have any food, and I can say, oh, I feel really bad for you. But that doesn't do anything to improve your situation, and it doesn't do anything to prove that I'm a friend to you. Now I realize that in a lot of cases, people that hear things about other people being out of something or not being able to pay a bill or something like that, they may not be able to hand over money or be able to give somebody what they need to meet that need, but it shouldn't stop us from trying. One of the things that was pounded into me, I grew up in a preacher's home, and one of the verses
Whoa.
that my dad would pound into me was
Well,
actually
let's not
two
talk about
verses.
too much pounding then.
Well, James
Just tease
2:15 through 17 said, if a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and be ye filled, notwithstanding you give them not those things which are needful to the body, what does it profit? In other words, if somebody comes to you and says, I have a need, and you have the ability to meet that need, if you have the ability, and let me stress that again, if you have the ability to meet that need, and you tell them, oh, I'm really sorry for you, I'm sad that you're going through this, but you don't do anything to try and help them meet the need, then that's not really being a true friend. And that doesn't just translate to financial things, but I mean, sometimes that need can be something as simple as going fishing or sitting on the dock drinking a cup of coffee together and just hanging.
Sometimes the person in need doesn't know what would be good for them.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't sitting here thinking about fishing until you brought fishing up. Now I'm like, damn, I wish I had a fishing buddy. Thanks.
now you're sitting there going, let me price bait at Walmart and
Right,
see what
right.
I'm doing tomorrow. I got a pond, bro, 150 feet from my door. You want to go fishing? You come down to Memphis. I'll put you up. We'll go fishing. I'm down.
I've been to Memphis before. I bent a rim and popped 2 tires.
Well, I'm not in Memphis. I use Memphis because that's the nearest big city. I'm actually east of Memphis, out in the country. Like the nearest grocery store is about 12 miles away, kind of place. So it's kind of out in the country, but not too far out in the boondocks. And I actually have a public lake across the street that is currently undergoing a complete redesign by Bill Dance. So if
I
you want to
like
get
Bill
some,
Dance. He's
if you want to
awesome.
get some serious bass fishing in, some of the state records have come out of that lake.
Heck yeah.
But yeah,
so go ahead.
Sympathy, empathy, no good without action behind it. I can't sit here on this stream and tell you all the things that you, our viewers, can go do to help veterans if I'm not getting off of my butt and going out to do those things to help our veterans, because that is hypocritical, that is wrong, it is backward, and it is not the way the world should be. We need more than sympathy from people that don't even understand sometimes where these guys are coming from. We need people of action who are willing to sit down and spend some time fishing.
Well, that's why we're here together and not somebody else. Because if your idea was helping veterans was to sit in your computer chair and talk to a webcam, that's not a real help.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The fact that you've already put in the legwork is what drew me to this idea whenever we started talking about, our similarities and idea. But I want to talk about the Bible verse you said. I don't actually want to talk about the verse. It closely relates to a conversation I just had with my daughter the other day. She says, Dad, it's not fair. My volleyball coach ain't playing me. So why ain't it fair? She said, well, 'cause this girl gets to play all the time, and this other girl gets to play all the time. They play all 3 games every night. Volleyball sets 3 matches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I know which 2 girls you're talking about, and they're the best girls on the team, hands down. And I said, I think that you are on a good night are the 3rd best. Sometimes you have an off night, and you're not the 3rd best. Somebody else steps up and has a good night, Well, it's not fair because whenever I let a ball go by me, and I think it's going to be out of bounds, but then it turns out to not be out of bounds. The coach yells at me. But then whenever this other girl lets the ball go by her and it ends up in bounds when she thought it was going to go out, the coach doesn't yell at her. And I said, yep, that sounds like it's not fair, but that's okay. And here's why. If I were the coach, I would do the same thing. I would yell at you. Because that other girl, 9 out of 10 times makes the right choice. 9 out of 10 times is aggressive. Even if a ball goes out of bounds, she's going to try to hit it. But you are doing 5 out of 10 times. See what I'm saying? So
Right.
she doesn't need near as much correction as you do. The world is not going to be fair, is my point.
No.
So to go on with what you were saying is, I heard a fantastic quote that I told her at the end of this conversation to, we always do we got motivational posters in our schools and all this other stuff, and it just kind of a catchphrase to hopefully let her remember this conversation with, and that is that you should only look into your neighbor's bowl to make sure they have enough.
Yep. I was actually going to bring that up. The meme that I saw the other day, it was a great picture of 2 little girls standing in front of an older man, and one of them said, "It's not fair. She has more than I do." And that's what he did. He looked down at her and he said, "You should never look into your neighbor's bowl to see if they have more than you. You should only look into your neighbor's bowl to see if they have enough." And that is probably some of the greatest life advice that you could ever give anybody. I'm trying to teach that principle to my 2 10-year-old daughters, that it isn't about what we have or don't have. It's about making sure the people around us have enough to meet their needs. And sometimes that means that we do without things that we want in order to provide for a need for somebody else. But I can honestly say this, since we adopted that policy in our family, which has been about 8 years ago, that we made up our minds that that was the type of life we would lead, that if somebody around us had a need and we could possibly meet it, we were going to. Since that time, I have not had any of my phones turned off. I've not had my power turned off. I've not had my rent be late. Everything gets paid on time, because when I have a need, there are people there who are like, "Hey, you got a need. Let me help you out." I mean, no joke. About 4.5 years ago, my wife and I had made a promise to.
Sayings are sayings for a reason, right?
Yeah, because they have truth based in them.
What goes around comes around.
Right.
Treat others how you want to be treated. Like all those sayings we have is the basis of this conversation.
It is. It absolutely is. About 4 years ago, my wife and I made a promise that we were going to give a certain amount of money to a mission organization in Ghana, Africa, because we knew the people personally who were boots on the ground there. We knew the kind of work they were doing, the wells they were putting in, the education they were trying to bring to the area. And so we decided we were going to give a certain amount of money every week to that operation. Something came up, and I ended up being out of work for about 3 weeks. And it came down to the Saturday night before we were supposed to make our contribution, and I looked at the money that we had in the bank, and I looked at my cell phone, and we had prepaid phones at the time through Verizon. They were due at midnight that night, or they were going to be turned off, and the amount to cover both phone bills was exactly the dollar amount that we had promised that we would give, and I had $3 over that amount in the bank. And I asked my wife, I said, "What do we do?" I said, "Do we pay the phone bills, or do we give what we promised we would give?" And she told me, she said, "Let's do what we promised we would do." And I said, "Okay, as long as you're okay with that, all we'll have is the Wi-Fi connection here at the camp." Ooh, smoochy smoochy. But I told her, I said, "All we will have is the Wi-Fi connection on the phone here at the campground, so we'll be able to message people on Facebook, but we won't be able to make phone calls." And she said that will be fine. So we gave the money the next morning. Our phones were turned off. When we got back from where we went to go drop the money off, we got back to the campground, and my phone started buzzing in my pocket. And I opened it up, and it was a Facebook notification that had come through once we connected to Wi-Fi. And it was a pilot friend of mine who flies for FedEx. And he asked me, he said, "Hey, I've been trying to call you all day. Why is your phone off?" And I told him, I said, "Well, we had to decide between needs and wants this week, and that didn't make the needs list." He said, "What could possibly be more important than paying your cell phone bill so that you've got a working phone. And I didn't really want to tell him, but after about 20 minutes of back and forth, I finally explained we had made a promise to this organization and we decided to keep the promise rather than pay the phone bill. And he just said, "That's pretty awesome." I didn't hear anything else from him for about 2 hours, and I got a message, and it said, "This is an address. I want you to go to this address at 9 o'clock in the morning and ask for a lady named Chelsea. She'll be waiting for you." I drove to the address. It was a Verizon phone store. And when I walked in the store, I asked for a lady named Chelsea, and she said, "You must be Josh." And she said my buddy's name. She said, "He told me you would be coming." And she handed me 2 gift bags with big red bows on them. Inside each bag was a cell phone, and one had my wife's name on it, one had my name on it, and there was a note inside my bag that said, "You don't ever have to worry about paying a cell phone bill again." I've never, for almost 4 years now, I've not had a cell phone bill because somebody saw some action that we were taking and wanted to be a blessing to my family. And we've tried to live that same way for other people. We can't always do it because we're not rich, we're not made of money. But when we have the ability to help, we do try to. And so, yes,
Heck
what
yeah.
you're saying, what goes around comes around. Scoop, big hearts.
What up, Scoop?
And I think that's a big thing that we need to keep in mind when we're dealing with other people, period, whether it's veterans or not. You know, that we need to take the time to assess the person in front of us and make sure that there's not a need in their life that we can meet. A close friend of mine always tells me, look in their eyes. You can always look in somebody's eyes and you can tell if they're struggling with something. He said that's the gateway to their
Yep.
soul. And so I've tried to live by that. I'm not very good at it, but I'm learning.
I've got the unique advantage of the fact that I'm used to living out of a bag. I'm used to living with, next to nothing. I can live my whole life with a duffel bag. I can put everything I own in a duffel bag, possibly two. If I have to front load one and then put one on the back like a book bag, everything I need could be in there. So the conundrum for me in this is about needs. Like I have a friend who put on his Facebook last week, says my dryer went out. I need a new dryer. Okay, found one on Facebook. It's 30 minutes away. Let's go get it. Well, does it have any sensors on it? What do you mean sensors? He's like, I don't want one of the ones that locks and has all the computerized stuff and whatever else. And I'm like, oh, all right. I don't know. I didn't look. I just thought you needed something. I was just gonna go take my trailer, get you over there and pick it up. He's like, all right, well, I'll come with you. I gotta stop by the store and get a 24 pack of beer first. I'm like, wait,
what?
like, right? So the sense of need versus want, is subjective to human opinion. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, well, you might need it, but you might need it now because I kind of feel like you've been irresponsible on several other fronts.
Right.
So it's a very important thing to do is to help other people meet their needs, but then again, you don't want to be an enabler either and help them with their needs because they've neglected that.
You don't go paying people's power bill if they've got 300 satellite TV channels that's been running for 9 months, paid on time every time, and they're driving. I know people they're good people, but their priorities are in the wrong place. They will go out and put themselves $50,000 in debt to buy a vehicle, but cannot afford to pay their power bill. And they'll go to churches or to charitable organizations almost every month to get help with those bills. And it's like, look, you can't do that. Put the $800 a month car payment to the side. Go buy yourself a $3,000, $4,000 beater to get you from point A to point B. Save your frickin' money up and pay your bills. Be responsible with what you have. So yes, there's
It's
a
funny you
definite.
say electric bill. My mom hit me up for money one time. We used to live in Tennessee. I moved back up here chasing a girl, but
I just can't.
Chelsea can't what?
I just can't. The your mom thing. I have like 30 sentences I want to spit out right now, but not on this stream. We'll do
Why
that
not?
in Discord. Because they're all your mom jokes.
Oh, I'll let her have it. What's up,
Chelsea
Chelsea?
Hart, hi. Welcome in.
First time chatter, cool cat. So my mom hit me up for some money one time. She said, "Hey, can't get my electricity bill paid. Could you possibly give me any money?" And I'm like, "Dang, Mom, like I'm strapped pretty tight. I mean, how much is your electric bill?" And she was like, $120 or whatever.
Right.
I was like, "Yeah, I don't have $120, I guess, but I could probably get you like 60 if you can get somebody else up for the other half, whatever." Well, don't worry about it. All right. Well, like an hour or two later, she says, "Hey, come get your car out of my driveway." I was like, "I can't. I'm up in Illinois. You're down in Tennessee." And she's like, "Yeah, I don't want it on my driveway no more." I'm like, "Well, there's literally nothing I can do this week to get a truck and trailer down there to get my car and pull it back up north." Well, she sold my car to pay her electric bill. True life story. But here's the conundrum here that we talk about needs and being irresponsible to put yourself in that situation. That fridge was always had Miller Lights in there.
Yep.
That cabinet always had a bottle of Smirnoff vodka or whatever vodka in there. Like all three of her cats still had food. Like
Yeah, at some point you got to eat the cat.
that's probably not very good. I don't think it's very tasty.
Anybody says they don't taste good has never had them prepared correctly.
That might be right.
Come to the Chinese buffet with me. I'll show you. Kitty on a stick. For all my viewers out there, totally kidding. I do not eat cats unless they're with ketchup.
Ketchup makes everything good.
Ketchup makes everything good. It'll drown out the bad flavor in almost everything except an MRE.
Yeah, they give you Tabasco for that. It's got to have a little more heat to drown out that bad flavor.
I've had some MREs. I remember I was 15 years old, and my youth group decided we were going to take a camping trip. Our youth pastor was 21. There was 5 of us. Yeah, just like that. Military, they came from the National Guard stockpile, actually. There were some that they were getting rid of, and the quartermaster gave us some.
Yeah,
so we took
this
a
one's
case
gross.
We went out to an island on Lake Tuscaloosa, and we're gonna be cool. We're gonna catch fish, and we're gonna camp out for 3 days. So we boated out to this island. That first day we didn't catch any fish, so we opened the MREs. We're like, heck yeah, we're gonna eat MREs, and we're gonna rough it like men. None of us ate more than 2 or 3 bites of the MREs, and we sent a boat back to the dock to go to Burger King and make a burger run. It was. I'm like, man,
Lord.
how do they eat this? This is just horrible.
You bunch of soft asses.
Oh, we were.
The trick is use all the Tabasco, and you eat it faster than you can taste it. That's the trick.
Whiskey, what's up, brother?
Whiskey, first time chatter. Welcome to the group.
In.
Is that Whiskey Dice?
Looks like Whiskey Dice. We're not cool now.
Yeah, for sure.
So, veterans, back to the subject at hand. We've kind of circled around, but it's been a fun discussion. One of the things veterans struggle with is linking up with people when they get home, because civilians don't fully understand veterans. Sometimes it can be difficult for a civilian and a veteran to establish a relationship. Now, for you and I, that's not been hard because we have things that we enjoy that we share, things like fishing, hunting, gaming, and that's important. Veterans love a sense of community. When you brought this up earlier, that in the military you're part of a unit. You have brothers, you have sisters, you have people that you're a family, and when you come away from that unit and you separate from the military, or even staying in the military, moving to a new base or post, you have to find that community all over again. You have to find where you fit in. And so one of the ways that we as civilians can help vets, and really veterans can help civilians with this too, because some civilians struggle with a sense of community, is that we can find things that we have common ground on, things like computer games, hunting, fishing, biking, motorcycles, whatever it is that we enjoy. Find that common ground and then build off of that, build a relationship off of that. And oftentimes it extends beyond the initial 2 people. For instance, I met you, and through you, I met our associate producer, Meat Shield. I met Whiskey. I met several other people. Through me, you met Solid Band. You met Burning Ashes. We've developed a community of people that have a wide variety of interests, but sometimes those interests interlink and mesh together to make us all stronger as a group, and therefore making us stronger as individuals as well.
I'm glad you brought Salad Band up. I actually drew something down here for her. Oh, yep, there it is. Just teasing. She's a big help.
She's gonna mute you in chat.
Right, she probably
Timed
will.
out. No, we love our moderators. We have a great team of mods. Solid Band is of course our head mod, and then we have Burning Ashes, and we have Speedy as well on the chat mod team. Great people.
Speedy weighs things in kilograms.
He does. He does.
He's one of them people.
He's a metric kind of guy.
I wonder if they celebrate Independence Day over there on July 4th.
Yeah, they do it at work though.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
I don't think the word celebrate is what they think of. I've got a buddy that's a truck sim streamer who's from Scotland, and I told him the other day on a stream, I said, "You want to have some fun this summer?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I'd be down to have some fun." He said, "What do you have in mind?" I said, "On July 4th, message all of your British friends and tell them Happy Independence Day." He goes, "Well, I don't think I'll do that."
That's funny.
Some do. Actually, I know for a fact a family in Blackpool does because they are my first cousins, and they live in Blackpool. And actually, I have another cousin who lives in Scotland as well, and they celebrate July 4th. I think they do it quietly, though, probably without the fireworks and the American flags and that whole deal. So,
do you think British people come to Indiana to buy fireworks?
That's a good question. That's
where we got to get our fireworks from. Best fireworks in the country you get from Indiana.
No, come to Tennessee. We make them here.
I've been there, brother. Live there.
Go to Kimball, Tennessee. There's a firework plant there, and they put out some monsters. But it's really interesting when somebody smokes on the line. I've seen what happens when they do that, and it's a pretty big mess.
Sounds like a good time.
It was one of the coolest fires I've ever seen. You've never seen flames that many different colors. But it was pretty scary for the people working there. Nobody got hurt, but
it's still hard to. I never found no good fireworks shops. I mean, there was fireworks shops, but I never found no good fireworks shops.
Oh, you can buy direct from the factory. You can walk right into the factory, and they'll sell you what they're making on the line. It's pretty cool. Welcome to Tennessee, patron state of shooting stuff.
Hey, just because I didn't find it doesn't mean it don't exist, you know.
Man, we got in Tennessee the truck stops sell fireworks. Like you can walk into a truck stop and buy fireworks.
Those are all black cats and the dumb shit. I'm talking about. I want the 3-inch mortars.
You can get those at a truck stop outside Kimball, Tennessee. In fact, that truck stop's main source of income is fireworks sale. It's probably the size not of a super Walmart, but do you remember the Walmarts when we were kids before they added the grocery sections?
Yeah.
You know, it's just a basic Walmart. That truck stop is about that big inside, and it is shelves all the way through it, nothing but fireworks. They have very few snacks and drinks and stuff like that. It's just all fireworks.
But they got beer, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't nothing like.
You can't buy fireworks without buying something that'll help you blow your hand off.
Ain't nothing like a cold drink and a hot firework.
Yeah, hold this. Watch this. Boom. I've seen some pretty bad injuries with mortars.
Dude, one time, honestly, me and my friends got together and we went out in the middle of nowhere. First of all, everywhere that I'm from is the middle of nowhere, so it's all in the middle of nowhere.
Good place.
We just went and found a 4-way intersection, you know, out in the middle of nowhere. And I had two. Do you remember when we used to have paper grocery bags?
Yep.
Like I don't know what, 12 inches by 18 inches or something. I had 2 of them full of fireworks, and we had blown them all off, and so they were left over. Well, we got together for a little Saturday night fiasco, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, and we were lighting off fireworks and stuff. And I'm like, man, it's gonna take forever to light off both bags. Like,
it's just like
what if we just lit the bag on fire?
I've played this game before.
It was awesome.
Dude,
I got a video from it somewhere. I'll have to dig it up, but it's
4th of July.
It was fantastic.
And New Year's, my dad would go buy. You remember the yellow wiffle bats, the skinny ones that were real long?
Oh yeah.
They always had a little hole in the handle, you know, so you could drain the water out. If you left it out in the yard and it filled up with water, you could turn it upside down, drain the water out. Or if you were really smart, you could use a small funnel, fill the bat with sand, and smack a rock over your neighbor's house. My dad would buy those, and he would give them to each of us kids. There were 7 kids in my family, and at that point, all but about 2 of us were old enough. He'd buy those bats, give us those bats, and we would buy bottle rockets, like 10, 15 gross of bottle rockets. We'd get on opposite ends of the yard, slide the stem of that bottle rocket down in the hole, and the fuse would poke over the side of the bat, light that sucker off, and point it at the other team. Whoever quit first lost.
Yeah, we used to do it with Roman candles. The first time, I remember the first time that I learned I could hold a Roman candle while it went off, it was on.
Right. Well, look, we're coming up.
What do you call it when you take a bottle rocket and break the stick off and then light it? What do you call that?
Stupid. It hurts.
You don't have a nickname for it where you're from?
No, we never had a nickname for it.
No? Oh, that's a good time.
Wait. Yeah, I know the nickname you're thinking. We can't say that on stream.
Cat chaser.
So we're at the top of the hour. So we're up on a break. So
Ooh.
I am going
already?
Yep. We're actually 4 minutes late because my associate producer wasn't in my ear telling me we're coming to break.
Well, do you count the intro time or not?
No, typically not.
Oh,
so
okay.
Actually we're about.
See, I was counting the intro time. We're
about 5 minutes early, but that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and push us to break. We will be right back. Got a video for you. If you were here last week, you've seen this video before, but please stick around and watch it. This video is just really good. It's a great shot, a great look at generations of veterans. And we will be back after the break.
When we come back, we will be continuing our discussion on veteran readjustment and how the average person can take part.
3 teens were arrested today for defacing the Kensington Park War Memorial overnight. The destruction includes painted messages against the military and the war in the Middle East. The 3 teens were picked up in the early morning hours after evidence was left at the scene.
Grandpa, something wrong?
Some people sure have short memories, and those who are too young to know need to be taught. Come on, I want to show you guys something.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
At dawn on the morning of the 6th of June, 1944, 225 Rangers jumped off the British landing craft and ran to the bottom of these cliffs. 225 came here. After 2 days of fighting, only 90 could still bear arms. These are the boys of Puente Hobo. These are the men who took the cliffs. These are the champions who helped free a continent. These are the heroes who helped end a war. You are men who in your, quote, lives fought for life and left the vivid air signed with your honor.
In the name of God and country, I learned to defy gravity.
To honor my family, I lived in the belly of a beast.
I fixed the hearts of iron monsters. I became a worm in the mud for dignity.
For honor.
For righteousness' sake.
For God and country.
I fought for you.
I fought for you.
For you. I fought for you.
I fought for you. I fought for you.
I fought for you.
For you.
For you.
For you.
For you. I fought for you.
I fought for you.
I fought for you, and I do it again.
All right, and we're back live at the Patriot View. I love that movie. It's a very simple short film put together by an awesome group out of Jupiter, Florida, and I do love that movie. We will not be showing it every week, but I wanted to show it again this week just in case somebody was here that happened to miss last week's show, or the week before actually, when we showed it the first time. Um, just a great look at how we can honor our vets. So coming back, we're talking about veterans struggling to. Yeah, I see you. Do you not see you?
My internet, no, my internet on my computer's locked up. That's why I keep holding my phone because I disconnected it from my internet.
Okay.
The stream's coming through clear on my phone, but my computer's not having it, so I can't see what we're talking about or anything. It's terrible.
you're
I'm
you're
winging
good
it.
on this end. We're totally
But
winging
if
it.
I start picking my nose or something, you stop me.
Why would I do that? I'll just pick mine with you.
Oh, okay. You start.
Oh man, I miss Joe. Um, all right,
Yeah, for real.
so we're talking about veterans and the struggle to reacclimate to civilian life and how we can make that easier for them, and also how we can build lasting relationships and bonds with the veterans around us. We've talked about community. We've talked about
The
the
key
fact.
being lasting. That's
Yes, it's it's easy to walk up to a veteran in Walmart and say thank you for your service. It's another thing to sit with a veteran who is in his own head and reliving things that he went through in Afghanistan, Iraq, or wherever, Kosovo, wherever he may have been
or
stationed.
not. Not even so radical. How about somebody who's just left their home and family for 5 years?
Yeah.
All their friends, they come back and all their friends are already graduated college and they're not even a freshman yet. Like
Yep.
Everybody that they knew and loved before they left have completely changed their lives by the time they get home, and they have not made any steps towards progress at all.
Well, and that family, even their immediate family, say the guy's married or the girl's married, they're overseas for 18 months on a deployment. They come home, that family may have created completely different routines than they used to have in order to adjust to the missing family member. And now the family and the veteran are both going to have to adjust to those changes.
Yep.
That's going to be that. I can see that being a real struggle. I don't like change. Um,
I
I
think maybe I just thought about this right now. I think maybe some of the trouble, and this is I'm saying from my own perspective because this is the way I feel. You kind of just made me realize a feeling that I have is that some of the struggle is that I don't want to take the time or have the I don't want to make the compromise to also adjust to my family. You know what I'm saying? Like I expect them to adjust to me, be like, oh, he's different now. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm not willing to do that for others. It seems like.
right. I'm setting a filter here on my mic to make sure that I'm not picking up talking stuff that we're having. So, so yeah, I mean, I could see, like changes within the family. And not only that, but the person who's been overseas has developed their own daily routine based on, what their task is. Um, it just, I can see that being a real issue coming home and having to adjust and figure out where things fit and how things go. I can see that being a
Well,
major
that's what I'm
stress.
saying. I can tell you this is a huge issue because, like my wife's used to getting up at 5:30 a.m., getting the kids up for school, getting the kids on the bus, getting them out, and then throwing a load of laundry in before she, goes to grocery shop or whatever. And I'm used to the lifestyle to where when I'm working, I'm working. When I'm not working, it's me time.
Right.
And that all has to change whenever you're, at home.
Okay. Yeah.
Your me time is no longer me time. It's now family time.
Right.
It
Right.
used to be you go down to the MWR and get on Yahoo Chat and talk to somebody, family member, whatever, or check your emails, or go to the MWR and play ping pong with a buddy, or go to PX, the Post Exchange, and grab some new shorts or a new T-shirt or whatever. And you could do whatever you want with your time because it was your time. You were off of work.
Right.
And then now that changed to, oh, by the way, not only do you have your responsibilities whenever you're working, you come home and have to have responsibilities too. we expect certain things of you, and I think that's a hard concept to grasp.
Yeah, that goes back to the first conversation we had about trying to put. Everybody has their opinion of how everybody around them life and how they should go forward in their life, what their next. But for a person that's having some
But where's the happy medium?
that comes millions start to not our job to shape some life and but rather our job to help them. Sometimes that does obviously headed down a road.
Hey, your mic sounds like shit. Yeah, it's terrible. You sound like the Terminator when the Wi-Fi went out.
If that's any.
Nope. You hear it? Oh.
Let's see if that's.
So it's not fair to the family for the veteran just to expect, hey, I've been through some hard shit. I'm coming home. You need to support me. You need to compromise. You need to adjust because otherwise it's just me doing the adjustment. That's not fair to the family. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I've got a wife and children and family that depend on me, financially, physically, etc. Right?
Right.
But on my days off, when I sit here and do this talk show, or whenever we decide we're gonna go do some iRacing or some Red Dead Redemption or whatever, I kind of get offended whenever someone comes just barging into my computer room and is like, "Hey, we gotta go get this laundry out. Do you have any socks to put in the washer?" And I'm just like, "Hey, I'm doing something." I'm pretty
Right.
impatient about it, and I'm pretty I don't offer a lot of compromise. Like literally, our conversation right now just enlightened me on this fact. Might be stupid that I just got enlightened as a grown ass man, but so it's not only a struggle for how can civilians, how can family, how can you guys adapt to help the veteran to feel more. I hate using the word like reintegrated and
more at home.
Adapting to civilian life, adjusting. Like I just hate those words. They're catchphrases. Like we talk about.
Yes.
Remember I talk about labels. We talk about labels. Like that's what I feel like. Oh, he's just in a readjustment. Like no, that's just another way of saying, throwing a label at me. Like leave me alone. But it's also our responsibility. Is what I'm telling you. Like veterans, if you're out there listening, don't just expect your family and friends to give you some leeway because you're a psychopath now. Also, if you have to give them leeway because they've got used to living their life without you because you did leave them. Yeah, granted it was to go do a good thing. We all get that. But they still got on with life without, like they all readjusted. Their readjustment period was whenever you walked out the door. So the 12 or 18-month deployment or whatever it was before you come back and reintegrate yourself, that was their adjustment period. They didn't get a talking through. They didn't get a talk show to give them some ideas. They didn't get VA programming to help them adjust to life without dad, So they're worth the time. Take it.
Yep.
Is what I'm saying.
That's a good point. And I see in the military there's a very high divorce rate among married couples in the military, and I think that a lot of that stems from both sides. The family struggling to adjust to dad being gone or dad being home, and dad struggling to adjust to being home or being gone. That's a lot of give and take.
Divorce only happens to married people.
True.
That's a fact.
True. That's very true.
No, seriously though, the divorce rate is insanely high. But I kind of think that our culture, the modern American culture, has reinforced divorce. We've made it to where you don't have to be committed to anything, and actually, at some point in time, Cowboy, I will send you. I wrote a paper on this. The inability of Americans to commit, right?
Totally.
So
true.
if you don't like McDonald's, you can go to Burger King,
Yep.
right?
If you don't like your
If you
job, you
don't
can
like,
get another one tomorrow.
quit and get another one tomorrow. If you don't like Walmart, go to Kmart. If you don't like Goodyear tires, get a Michelin tire. If you don't like Chevy, get a Toyota. Our country has worked for its entire life, right, since 1776, to give us all the best opportunities available, and we've done a fantastic job. We have to be responsible with how many options we're given, because whenever it becomes an expectation to have options, that creates conflict.
Yep. I agree. I totally agree.
You know, we're talking about looking in your neighbor's bowl, right?
Yep.
It's kind of like that, but like worldwide, right? You know, like America's look over at another country, check out their bowl. Look at Canada. You know, do they got what we got? Well, a lot of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have Florida. They have shitty weather.
They don't have summertime.
Look at Mexico. That's pretty terrible, we all think. Anyways, I've never been there. Been in a lot of other places, but you know, look at your neighbor's bowl. See, obviously with countries we can't help their needs or anything. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you want to go to Cuba on a Red Cross mission, absolutely do it. But it's you know, whenever we lose our gratefulness to our nation, and I'm not talking about the government or the military or anything. I'm just talking as a nation, everything we've done from the spawn to today, all the work and all the sacrifice and all the commitment. Like, if you are tired of this, go look somewhere else.
Right.
Let me know what you think of any African country, even like, you know, Egypt, or South Africa, the two, you know, wealthiest countries in the whole continent. Let me know what you think about that life.
Yeah.
It's not good. Like, you're not sitting in a 72 degree perfectly temperature controlled room, you know, waiting on your tuna sandwich to come here.
No,
like
you're hoping you're not having tuna because it's warm enough that it's probably bad by now.
Yeah, they probably don't have a lot of tuna there, but yeah, you get the point though. It's, you know, we are pretty spoiled, and I'm not saying don't take advantage of that, because we've earned it as a nation, right, for 200 years.
Yep.
But also be careful with it, I guess.
I think America got a very, very limited and brief glance at what the rest of the world could look like during COVID, when we went to the store and there was no bread on the shelves, and we went to the store and there was no toilet paper on the shelves, and we went to the store and you know, all of a sudden there's no soft drinks there, and now
Well, I don't even wipe my ass, so I'm cool with that.
But you know what I'm saying? I mean, we walked in the store and things that we take for granted as an everyday part of life suddenly aren't there. What we don't realize is those things aren't there every day in most of the rest of the world.
Well, that's why we're soft as hell. Americans are the softest people. Thank God that we have a huge population. So, it's all about percentages, right? 1% of people are always going to be psychopaths, serial killers, rapists, all those guys, right? 1% always is going to be that way. So as you magnify the population, you're also going to, or as you multiply the population, you're also going to multiply the minorities, right? By the same. So, but the same goes with hardened men ready to do violence on your behalf. Thank God for those guys.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about like the SF guys, the Navy SEALs, the Army Rangers, the guys that go on stuff that you never heard of, that ain't on CNN, that, you know, like they've been in Panama for the past.
Happened.
Right, they've been in Panama for the past 6 weeks fighting the cartel, and you didn't even know they took out an entire cartel family. Those guys, so I'm talking about. Like, you know, we don't have the stomach for it anymore because we're all too soft. We've all been conditioned. There's a saying for that too. I don't know word for word what it is. I thought I did, but then actually I looked it up, and the guy I thought said it really didn't say it. But it's something along the lines of hard times create hard men create easy times create soft men, and soft men create hard times.
That's exactly how it works.
So it's a vicious circle, and right now we're in the easy times with the soft men is what's going on.
Yep.
But like I said, thank God for that small percentage of hard men ready to do violence on our behalf. But like the Ukraine thing, they don't have the Russians bombed out like half their power grid, so they have to cycle their power country nationwide, their whole country, right? They're alternating power. They do 4 hours on here, 4 hours off here, and 4 hours on here, and they alternate. So every 4 hours you get electricity, and that's for everything. Like not like you get some or you can run your fridge. No, all of it
gone.
It switches every half the country every 8 hours or every 4 hours. So you're getting, and I'm like, we watch it on the news, and I guarantee you, everybody's first reaction is, "Oh man, that's terrible. I feel so bad for those people. I couldn't imagine." Blah blah blah. I literally looked at my wife, and I'm like, "That would be fucking awesome." Could you imagine our kids without power for 4 hours? They would lose their minds.
No screen time.
Right, and I'm like, they might go outside. Like I might have help chopping wood. Somebody might mow the lawn with
that
me.
room might actually get cleaned.
But that's what keeps countries like Ukraine and Russia hard, right? So they're always on the brink between the easy times and the hard times, because 4 hours with power and 4 hours without, that's not really hard times, right? Like we're not starving to death, but like that's a reality check.
You're starting to monitor what food you eat when. At that point,
Yeah.
You're starting to conserve. You're not going to stock your deep freezer up in a time like that with 400
how
pounds
much
of beef.
meats do we need?
Yeah.
Right.
What do we need for today?
And that's a reality check, and that doesn't necessarily like ruin your life, but it makes you harder in the sense that we use the term, you're a hardened man or
Tougher.
whatever. Like it makes you a little bit, it makes you a little bit tougher, a little more aware of your surroundings and cognizant of what you do have.
Right.
I appreciate it. It sucks that they're going through that shit, but I would not cry if me and you and I could stream for 4 weeks because I had to alternate power every 4 days or every 4 hours. Scar.
Or we'd at least have to alter our schedule to match that 4-hour alternation.
I might get on the motorcycle.
Yep.
Go for a 4-hour ride. That'd be all right.
Yep. It's amazing, really, what we as Americans take for granted. I mean, if we can't sit down in front of our TV and have 300 different options to watch, we're not satisfied. And usually we sit there and click, 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 click. Man, there's nothing on.
Didn't we just talk about that? The power of choice?
Yeah, the power of choices.
Walmart, Kmart, Myers, whatever.
We get so blown out with choices, we don't even want to make them anymore. And worse than that, we have a generation of people now that have no idea how to make a choice for themselves. That we have a generation that literally doesn't know what they believe. So here's the thing. There's a big difference between a preference and a belief. Okay, a preference is where you say this is the way things should be, but if somebody were to put a gun to your forehead and ask you to change your opinion and you'd be willing to do it, then you don't believe that. You prefer that.
Ooh.
If somebody puts a
So
gun to your head
Taco
and says
Bell's
either
the best
change
restaurant in the world.
Right.
And you're like, you put a gun on my head, you're like, is Taco Bell really the best fast food in the world?
I'd change my opinion in a heartbeat.
Oh, Chick-fil-A don't sound too bad right now.
Yeah, and I mean, really, you can look back through history and you can see the definition of that. Take for instance Christianity. The disciples were given a choice. Either you recant the teachings of Christ and say that you don't believe them, or you're dead. And down through history, thousands of people were killed because they would not recant what they believed. That was not a preference for them. That was not something that they thought was the best idea for the time.
It's a way of life.
It was who they were, and they were not willing to give that up in order to save their own lives. And like you and I talked about the other day, they weren't thinking about themselves or their family or their wife or their children. They were thinking about their children's children, their grandchildren's children, and those generations beyond them. And that's why we have America, because we had men and women who were thinking about the future generations that were coming behind them. And they said, we are willing to sacrifice our lives, our livelihood, our farms, whatever. You know, the signers of the Declaration of Independence, several of them ended up dead. Almost all of them ended up bankrupt. They
I think they're
all
all dead now,
lost.
actually.
Well, yeah, they all ended up dead eventually. But I think several of them ended up bankrupt. They lost a lot, but they did that because they weren't thinking about the right now. They were thinking about the future, and it was something that they believed. It was not. It wasn't they preferred not to have a king. They believed it was wrong for a king to control a people from so far away, and they were willing to
Yeah, I
put
think
their
I got
lives
to
on the
meet you in
line.
the middle on this one. I agree that a lot of them were probably thinking about the future and took that into consideration. But I also think that a lot of them, probably a lot of the same guys, were thinking about the right now. That there's already a country that has a king and taxation without representation and all that stuff, right?
Right.
In the right now. We don't
That's
want
true.
that. So right now, I want something different.
Right. In other words, I'm willing to sacrifice my comfort that I could have by right now by being loyal to the king and being willing to do whatever he tells me. I will sacrifice that comfort for discomfort in return for freedom. And, you know, what's the statement Franklin made? Something along the lines of anybody that would trade comfort for freedom deserves neither. You know,
I don't
there's
know the
truth.
phrase, but
I think it was comfort for liberty. Anybody who would trade their liberty for comfort deserves neither, I think was how he put it. And that's very true. It takes a hard man, a hard woman. It takes someone who truly believes in something to stand up for it to the extent that it starts costing them. That's when you know somebody believes something. When it costs them something personally and they're willing to keep doing it, then you know they believe it.
well, that's the way I feel about like all the firearms conversation that have been taking place in the past. I mean, it's been really ridiculous for the past like 3 or 4 years, probably. You know, even 10 years ago, it got publicized or whatever. They were talking about like certain size of magazines were going to be allowed and certain calibers for hunting and blah. And you know, the willingness to draw a line and stand by that decision is going to separate us sometime. It sucks that it's probably going to come down to that, but eventually. Do you remember Waco, Texas?
Yep, I do.
Do you remember Mount Carmel?
Yep.
Was that dude crazy? Maybe. Okay.
Oh yeah,
he might have been a little bit crazy.
Dirty as all get out. He was not guilty of what they accused him of.
But look at his principles on freedom and liberty.
Yep.
Don't take religion, don't take underage wife, don't take children, nothing into account. Just look at his principles on freedom and liberty. I'm doing what I wanted to do on my piece of land that I've purchased and paid taxes on. That's kind of what I want to do, right?
Well,
I mean,
not only that, but like I said, he wasn't in violation of a single firearms law. But that's what they accused him of, and they stormed and burned down his
that was just the third try. They accused him of 16 other things before that. They didn't get a warrant for a single thing.
No.
By the way.
And the thing is, had they not sent the FBI in there, I watched an interview with the sheriff from that county, and he flat out said if they would not have sent the FBI in there, if they would have come through my office, I could have walked onto that property and walked him out in handcuffs peaceably.
He was on scene. He was on scene and offered to approach the house, and they said
would
no.
not let him. It was about making a statement because they were coming back from the blowback from Ruby Ridge. If you remember Ruby Ridge, where the man's wife was killed by a bad shot by a marksman, they were coming back from that. No, because they claim he was aiming at the guy and missed him, shot over his shoulder, and hit his wife standing behind him. You know, I don't know. I wasn't there. It could have been a good shot. I don't know. But they were coming back off the blowback from that, and they needed something that would give them.
How many snipers
headlines.
do you know?
Personally, only one that's been in the military.
Okay, I can name about 4 that I've personally served with. I know 0 of them, 0%, that would take a shot that the background wasn't clear. You know what I'm saying? The follow through. And also, 0 of them would take a shot if they weren't 100% confident they were going to hit their target. If there was something that could deflect a bullet, such as a window, windowsill, tree branch, anything else.
Not going to take it.
And from that range, that dude was only 200 yards away.
Yeah, 200 yards away. I've made headshots on deer free-armed from that range, and I'm no sniper.
So you're telling me this dude not only didn't know what was behind his target, not only didn't hit his target to think about deflection, also flat out missed what was in his crosshair?
Here's the other question. Was he a true marksman for the FBI, or was he just an agent on scene with a long gun? Had he been properly trained in the use of a long gun? You're never going to get those
Any
answers.
law enforcement I've ever ran into, any special weapons like long guns with scopes, you have to check out. I don't know that it's that way everywhere. I don't know that it was that way then. The 90s were what
Wild
we
and
think
woolly.
of as the 60s, right?
Yeah.
What guys our age think of as the 60s. The 90s were really that way now.
Yep.
But, I don't know what kind of regulations they had with signing out firearms, but I know even in my military unit, I was on a sniper team for a hot minute, and your name was tied to that weapon, and
yeah.
They counted your ammo,
and they knew what the rounds looked like that came out the barrel too.
Yeah, there was
they
no
had one in ballistic gel somewhere.
Oh, this dude's dead. Oh, looks like he got shot with 7.62. No, it's 5.56. Trust me. You know what I mean? They're like,
right.
Yeah, come on. But I don't know, that whole thing to me just seems like I don't even want to say it was not planned. I don't necessarily think, but I think the cover up, the rational here's the word, the rationalization of it, right?
Yep.
They did a pretty good job. Oh, it was an accident. It was not the intended target. Blah blah blah. But
it was easy to rationalize to the people.
Right, that's what to the people. It's exactly what I'm saying.
We wanted to believe that some crazy guy in Texas had gone nuts and was molesting little kids. And we wanted to believe that that guy was a firearms dealer of death because that's what the news media told us. I remember I was in my 30s before I found out the truth about David Koresh and started doing some deep digging. I do not, let me state this very clearly, I do not agree with his religious ideology. I do not agree with him being married to a tender age child. I don't think that is right. Under Texas law at the time, it was legal. It was completely legal. He had the signed consent of her father, and she was a willing participant in the marriage. Does not make it right. But when it comes to his firearms usage, he was well within the laws with what he was doing with weapons on his property. They did not have a single legitimate weapons charge to bring to him, but they needed a case that would make a statement after Ruby Ridge that the U.S. was going to crack down on gun control. And David Koresh was the perfect opportunity because because of the things he had been accused of outside of gun violations, it was easy to paint him as a complete nutcase on all fronts. Let me stress this. Just because somebody has a warped view in one area of their life does not mean that every single area of their life is equally warped. It can mean that depending on what the area they have the warped view is. But it does not typically translate to that. I know some people, having grown up in the South, who have very, very warped views when it comes to how different races should be treated. But I also know that other areas of that person's life, they have straight down the line views on how that area of their life should be guided. And the reason that they have those different viewpoints is because of the generation, the era, and the location that they grew up in, the people they were surrounded by. So they were taught a certain thing. So what we saw there was somebody who was easy to paint as a nutcase because one area of his life was totally Fruit Looped and out of the question nuts. And it's sad. It's really sad that we were so willing as a people to swallow everything that mainstream media delivered to us. And when I started researching this, I think that was the first time in my life that I actually sat down and I was like, mainstream media is so full of crap because I remember the news stories every night about Waco. It was frontline news every night. And
have you ever been there?
I have. I actually have.
Yep. I took my family there 2 years ago actually. It's a very eerie place.
It's very creepy. Still abandoned, if I remember right.
It's never been abandoned. they still have it fenced off and they still have their pond and everything, but there's always been a community of his followers and their descendants, I suppose,
Right.
that have maintained. It's like a little baby trailer park is what it is now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the guy who survived did an interview, and he stated unequivocally, he's like, he wasn't doing anything illegal. They should have never come like that. All they had to do was knock on the door, and the door would have been answered, and they could have sorted things out. You know, but that goes, that realizing that, learning about that was the first time in my life that I began to question what I was seeing on the nightly news on every network, because every network reported that.
I had an uncle who followed that situation, and he always talked to me about it and like said about how mad he was that stuff went down. I really didn't know what he was talking about. I didn't watch the news or watch any of that stuff at that age, but I remember him being very enthusiastic about how wrong the government was in the situation and how they need to mind their own business and whatever else. And I'm like, once I got older and started like researching it and whatever, I realized that what was getting him so fired up, and it was basically the government stepping in, telling someone what they should believe or act like, and that's that was the like one of the first televised reactions from the federal government on what happens if you don't fall in line.
Right.
And that's the way he felt about it, and that's the way, like I said, later in life, whenever I started learning about it, that's the way I felt too. And it's a fine balance. I don't ever want to be a politician.
No.
If I was a politician, I would probably border along the lines of Julius Caesar, I would guess. Basically make the mob happy. I don't care about your political ties type of guy.
Right.
But I want everybody to be pretty comfortable and pretty productive. That's about it, right?
Right.
And in order for us to be pretty comfortable and pretty productive, we all just kind of have to follow a very vague set of guidelines. Like we talked about, be kind to your neighbor, right? Don't go to your neighbor's house stealing their wife or their kids or their food. If someone needs help, help them out. But at no point in time, whenever the founders of our country sat down and wrote the Declaration of Independence or our first United States Constitution, I don't think ever did they dream that the laws and the rules and the culture of our country would be changing to appease the minority, I guess is the way to say it, right?
Right.
So we're going to see how you react to this question. Do you care if I'm gay?
No.
Does it make a difference to you? Does it change your life?
No.
Do you think I care if you're gay?
Probably not.
0%. Not at all.
It's none of my business what you do or don't do in the bedroom.
Why the hell would legislators even talk about this at a damn table then?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Why does there need to be a law?
Why is there a group of men and women? I say men pretty generally as humans, okay? Why is there a group of men in Washington, D.C. who think that they have to get paid a six-figure salary to sit around a wooden table and decide
30 days
what you or I think towards each other? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Is being gay so detrimental to the human race that we have to regulate it?
Here's the thing.
Come on.
The
How about being black?
That we have over
being a
million laws in the United States is because we can't follow 10 very simple ones that literally deal with your relationship to humans. Don't want your neighbor's wife. Don't take things that don't belong to you. Don't lie. Don't kill. I mean, how much simpler can it be? Literally 10 rules that we have to live by in order for the whole world to live in peace, but we cannot do that because, and the reason is because each of us are too jealous and too prideful and too wrapped up in what we want in this moment to do that. And when I say each of us, I mean society as a whole.
Yeah. It all comes down to two things. power and control, right? That's the same thing. I
Yep.
mean, it's the same. That's one phrase. Power and control. We want to have power, and we want to control others. That's human nature. We all want to, everybody wants. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, because there are people out there who don't want to be the alpha male, right? I
Right.
do. I want to be the leader. Whatever group we go, whenever we go race, I want to be the admin. Whenever we go do trucks, I want to have a say so on what job we're doing. We all want some control. It's completely natural.
Right.
And the other thing is recognition. That's the other thing that humans seek. So whenever, take it back to the caveman days, whenever big man goes out and kills a mammoth and brings home big meat, like, he wants a pat on the back for that shit, right?
Right.
The problem is that it's seeped over into our government on such a level to where our government wants power and control and recognition. They not only want to tax me 49% of my paycheck, they want me to thank them for the roads in my country.
Yeah.
Even though they got 74 potholes every 6 miles.
My vehicle has to be inspected in order to drive on the roads. Why don't the roads have to be inspected to make sure they're in good enough condition for my vehicle?
They are, but the inspector is appointed by the guy you voted in, whose brother was the cousin of this guy
Yep.
who owns the pharmaceutical company up the street.
And you can bet the road in front of his house doesn't have any potholes.
I'll tell you right now, this is a 100% true life story. I live out in the middle of nowhere, and we have a road commissioner who's appointed by the county board, right? The county board are people who we vote in. So like I said, the brother of a cousin of a guy who knows somebody. My road is all gravel, 3 miles each direction. Until you get to the road commissioner's house. Magically, they put asphalt in the last half mile of his road until the next asphalt road. So he doesn't have to drive any of his cars or motorcycles or four-wheelers or side-by-sides on gravel at all to get to or from any major city in our area. Weird that the road commissioner has a perfectly laid asphalt road to his house.
To the local media. Get them out there to do a report on it. That would be rather interesting to go, hey, where are my tax dollars at work, considering I live on the same frickin' road you do?
Well, like, I'm a motorcycle rider.
Yeah.
I don't want to ride on three miles of gravel to and from every single time I want to go for a ride.
Not on a heavy bike,
let alone,
for sure.
Let alone my motorcycle is a 100th anniversary edition.
Right.
So
I don't want the gravel
with
flying
original
up
paint.
and hitting it.
Right. Hell no, I don't. So, like, with this guy, it's the power and control and recognition.
That's the way it is.
Then he wants his name in the paper for county road commissioner. Like, come on, give me a break.
So why don't you attend a county commission meeting? They should be open to the public and go, hey, where are my tax dollars going to work? Because I'm sure as heck paying property taxes. How are your property taxes being put to better use than mine that I cannot get asphalt to my driveway?
Well, two reasons. One, I do not pay property taxes. That's one of the benefits that I gained through service to my country. The other reason would be I am a government employee. So to go into a government forum and have an opinion, it would be highly scrutinized, especially to have the opinion that I have. So I would either have to go and deal with a whole lot of backlash or not go and deal with my conscience, I guess.
It's a tough situation.
Yeah. So on a, they say pick your battles, right? On a subject that's so trivial.
Your wife is not a government employee. And a woman's voice
she
tends
is.
to get heard.
The mayor of my town sued her for having a car parked in the driveway that didn't have a license plate on it. Even though there's no county, city, or state ordinance against having an operable vehicle parked in your driveway without a plate, he still hired a lawyer and sued us. Or sued her. And I wrote him a letter. Yeah.
Wow.
And I wrote him a letter in response, and his lawyer replied to my letter and said, unless I'm the power of attorney, then I have no business in this matter. Even though we live at the same address, all that stuff. Like,
tell him come over to your house. You'll show him who's got business in the matter.
So I said, fine, let's go to court.
I'll sponsor your $50 bail.
That's fine. Let's go to court. We went to court, and we're getting ready to go before the judge. And he's like, hey, do you mind if we talk for a minute? I said, oh, now you want to talk to the man of the house, right? Now I'm good enough. And he was like, yeah, we've got some rather hostile letters from you about the situation. I said, hell yeah, we do. And I said, do you understand right now that one of the oldest people in our community, right, lived here his whole life. He's 55 years old now. who's at the highest political office in our town, the mayor, is suing a minority female. Yes, my wife's a minority. Is suing a minority female for having a car legally parked in her driveway. Are you sure you're ready to go into this next room and talk to this judge about this right now?
Well
And he
played.
said, "Can I have 5 minutes?" Went, made a phone call, and came back and said, yeah, we're good on that. Thank you. Have a good day."
Right.
But like, you shouldn't have to do that. You see what I'm saying?
But what they count on is that you won't. They count on that you won't even show up. You'll roll over
Right.
and they'll get what they asked for without you even being there. I'm dealing with an insurance company over the motorcycle wreck I had last year on the same thing. They
Illinois
counted
just
on
said
me
you can't have
rolling
more.
over.
Illinois just said you can't have more than 10 bullets in a gun.
Yeah.
Now, how many damn guns you know that ain't shotguns that hold less than 10 bullets?
Right.
Every pistol on the market, every rifle on the market. Come on.
That's exactly what it is. It's gun control without going, hey, we're going to get rid of this. Solid Band has a good question for you there. Do veterans have to pay taxes?
Of course they do. Pay income tax, sales tax, license plate tax, pay all the taxes except for property taxes if you're disabled to a certain percentage. And yes, there's 100 loops to jump through to get to that point, but I've jumped through all those loops and I have my appropriate documentation stating that I am disabled enough by my military service that I no longer have to pay property taxes. It's property taxes the only thing we get an exemption from, and it's prorated until you are at least 70% disabled.
And you know what? I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that's why, part of why veteran discounts by businesses are so valuable, because in a lot of cases those discounts are 10% or 20%. It's usually enough to cover the cost of the sales tax. And I appreciate businesses that offer a veterans discount. Matter of fact, I shop at veteran-owned businesses or businesses that offer big discounts to veterans over other places because I want them to keep supporting our veterans. Sometimes I pay a little bit more for something, but it is, to me, it's worth it because I know if I'm willing to pay, $1 more for this product that costs $49 anyways over at this store, that some veteran who walks through the door behind me is going to be able to buy that for $44.90 instead of $49.90.
I've got an awesome one for you. Actually, I meant to I bookmarked this in my brain. So last week I bought a new pair of lenses for my sunglasses, right?
Yep.
And as I'm getting ready to check out, they're like, "Hey, we offer a veterans discount." I'm like, "Whoa, all right." So let me backtrack a little bit. I was searching for lenses for my sunglasses, come across the site, said, pre-springtime sale, 20% off everything. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, 20% off. Click the website, found my lenses, $27.99. I'm like, right, that's a decent price for the lenses I got. And they're like, at the checkout it says like, "Are you a veteran? Are you a first responder? Click here if you are." Click there, and it asks you to verify your ID through ID.me or one of those sites that do that. And I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be awesome. Put in all my information, boom, identity verified, veterans discount 15%. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's the price of the lenses? $28.45. I'm like, wait a minute. So everybody in the world gets 20% off, but your big old banner that says we support our veterans. If you're a veteran, click here. Then I get less percentage off. That was just to reinforce my argument on our last stream about businesses using the blood of my brothers to advertise.
Yeah,
but no, true businesses, they give a flat 10% off anything. There are a few out there. I know Advanced Auto Parts does Military Mondays. I always bust their balls when I go in there because I never go buy parts on a Monday because that's when you get your first call of the week, right? To go fix something.
Right.
You go buy your parts on Tuesday, and I'm like, hey, you guys offer veteran discounts? And they're like, oh, yeah, on Mondays. Well, today's Tuesday. I'm like, how about this? I'm a state worker. Oh, yeah, we'll give you 10%. What?
And that's when you're like, how about this? How about I'll only go to Iraq on a Monday? I'll only go pound sand in Afghanistan on a Monday. How about we do it that way?
Yeah, nobody does it for the discounts. We talked about that too.
I actually was in a Lowe's store with my brother-in-law, who's an airborne vet. We We get to the counter to pay for the stuff he needed for the project he was working on. And the lady's ringing everything up. She gets everything rung up. She gives him the total. He says, "Can I get a veteran's discount, please?" She goes, "No, it's too late for me to put that in. I needed to know that before we started." He goes, "Well, we can rescan everything." And it was like 8 items. And it was not busy. There was one person in line behind us. And she said, "No, I don't have time to do that." He said, "Okay."
Which store was this?
It was a Lowe's.
Yeah.
So we paid for the stuff. We went out to the truck, and he called the store and asked to speak to the manager. And he told the manager what happened. And the manager said, "Can you come back in, please?" So he came back in with his receipt. The manager met him at customer service. He swiped his credit card, refunded the entire purchase, told him to have a nice day, and then walked to the other end of the store and fired the cashier. Now,
Dang.
Now my brother-in-law, being the guy that he is, caught the manager after he had seen what happened.
Hopefully
He said,
said, "Don't
"Please
fire that poor
don't
girl."
fire her." He said, "I think a talking to was good enough." And the guy called the cashier back over. They spoke for a few minutes, and she ended up staying on the job. He said, "I wasn't trying to get her fired." He said, "I just wanted to get 10% off of this order because even though it was a limited
Right.
number of items, it was like a $1,300 order." And he said, "I can't afford to spend the extra." He goes, "I shop at Lowe's because you offer a veteran's discount and because I like your products better than your competition." And he said, "But I'm not trying to get the girl fired." But for me, standing there, it offended me when an employee tells somebody who had the time to be willing to sign the dotted line, go wherever the military wanted to send them. It offends me when you tell that person in front of me, "I don't have time to spend a minute and a half running a scanner and then adding your veteran ID in order for you to get a discount." That's offensive to me because
I
you
would have told him,
guys,
"Keep the shit. I'm going to Home Depot."
well, he didn't have that opportunity in that particular town because there wasn't one there. There was Lowe's and Ace Hardware, and Ace Hardware didn't have all the stuff that we needed.
Yeah.
But
Ace
the
Hardware,
moral of the
by the way,
story being be nice to
shout out.
veterans. Shout out for Ace Hardware.
Ace Hardware, yeah. I got 2 Ace Hardwares, both are within a half hour of me. They both have the very closest spot to the door is reserved for veteran parking only.
That's awesome. I need to check
And they
my
both
local
give
Ace Hardware.
they both give veterans 10% off the entire purchase. Period. Not on regular priced items, not on period. So whatever you put in your cart and you go check out, you're getting 10%.
Solid shouting them out for us there. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
So we're coming up towards the end of the show, so let's do a recap. First of all, Josh won in fantasy NASCAR. 2 weeks in a row. I came out on top, which is not bad for a guy who hasn't followed NASCAR for a decade. Got lucky and had to pick somebody that I really don't freaking like to put in my lineup today, and he just happened to win first place. So as much as it makes me cry on the inside to say this, thank you, Kyle Busch, for the extra points. I will not be using you again the rest of the season. Have a nice life. But we talked.
It's all right. I'm gonna make that up for you as soon as we're done with the stream and we go on to our iRacing game and we get into 1987s. I'm putting your ass on a wall.
Gonna make me cry, huh? So we've talked about veterans and civilians being able to reacclimate as the veteran comes home, and things that we can do as civilians, things the veteran can do. Anything you want to add on top of that? And do you have a suggestion for who we should raid?
Ooh.
Let's
raid.
take a look
the only,
at that.
The only person. All right. Well, first question you asked me is, do I have anything to add on top of that? No, I think we covered that topic pretty well. We will definitely continue that conversation at a future date, but I want to get another veteran in the room to have that conversation so I can see what their perspective is on that. See if they have given their loved ones, friends, family, whatever, any sort of leniency on their adaptability.
Yeah.
Second part of your question is, who should we raid? We should raid Patriot View. Oh wait, that's us.
I'm down.
Let's see here. Nope. Only person I got on is old Scruff. Let's raid Scruff.
You know
man.
what? Let's raid Scruffy Tam. Scruffy was our guest here 2 weeks ago. Great
yeah.
guest. So let's take our viewers over to him. If you guys have not checked him out and given him a follow, you should. Coolest.
Definitely follow Scruff. Don't jump the gun on this though, because we got a couple things to plug.
Yep, we need to plug some things, and I'll have to roll some credits. But if you could get the raid ready to set up for us, please, Miss Solid.
Also, Solid Band, if you could get us a link to our Discord in there, we are going to. I think we're doing iRacing right tonight.
Yep.
iRacing. So you probably don't have the cars and stuff we run. That's fine. We'll run whatever you've got. Come join us. Do a couple of races. We'll put up the. We'll fork up the 50 cents for the race. Get us a room together if anybody wants to come into Discord.
Command up. I think this is the proper command. Nope, I'm not logged in.
You can just open Discord and copy the invite link.
Try exclamation point race. Because I think we set that up for the race last week. There it is.
There you go. Boom shakalaka. There's the link to our Discord. That's where we'll be after the party here. We're gonna do some iRacing. If you don't have a subscription, let me know. We could probably work something out. I know if I get a referral, I get $10. It's like $13 a month, I think. So I can give you that $10 back. If you use my referral, I'll get $10. I'll send you $10. Cost you $3. Try it out. See if you like it. That's what we're gonna be doing. But definitely enjoy Scruffy Tam's Flight Simulator stream tonight. We're gonna
go ahead and
he doesn't even know
get ready to roll the end credits. No, he has no clue that we're coming. So, man, I really appreciate you guys sticking with us through the stream. Been a great stream, good conversation. And you know,
one more thing. We've kind of talked about scheduling, whatever. I think we're just gonna be fluid around basically the Sunday NASCAR schedule. So.
Yep.
Every Sunday, I'm going to stream the NASCAR race in that Discord link that's up there. So whether it be if it's a noon NASCAR race, we'll watch the race and then stream afterwards. If it's a 7:00 p.m. NASCAR race, we're going to stream beforehand and then watch the NASCAR race together. So join that Discord, hang out with us before or after the stream, depending, and the stream will correlate to whatever NASCAR race is up for the weekend.
Check the schedule on Twitch. It will be updated by Saturday every week with the time that we are going to stream on the following Sunday. So we'll make sure we keep that updated. And you know, guys.
Yeah, they changed their scheduling to where you can't just do individual episodes. Now you have to do a repetitive weekly schedule, no matter what. Even if you don't want to stream at 7:00 on Sunday every single Sunday, you have to put it in that way. So it's not going to be accurate all the time until Saturdays, is what we're saying.
Right. It'll be accurate every Saturday. I'll make sure that it's updated. And guys, like we always say, you can't change the world around you, but you. No, that's not what we say, is it?
How's it go? I forgot.
You can't change the world, but you can change the world around you. So.
And like I always say, don't talk about it. Be about it.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week. We're going to roll these credits and raid out the.
Tell Scruffy who sent you.